publicly. We should say that, too. They want to accommodate the family's request, but no plans to make whatever video evidence there is available to the wider public.
And facing some tough questions about that. Let's discuss this, kind of what we just heard in this press conference and this update with the former mayor of Philadelphia, Mayor Michael Nutter. He's joining us right now. Mayor, we wanted to get your take on how you think the city's handling this so far.
Well, Kate and John, thanks for having me. Obviously, this is a tough and complicated situation. I do want to say I think that Mayor Roberts and Chief Putney, with regard to accommodating the family's request to see the video, absolute right decision. The chief described what he saw, and if the family sees the same thing, it may not provide them, with any definitive closure to what has happened, but at least they will have the opportunity to see the same thing that the chief has seen. These kinds of situations are the toughest. They're the kinds of things that mayors all across the country worry about every day. Any of us know that on any given day, in any given incident, things can quite honestly go sideways or haywire, and you can end up in one of these tough situations. So, as the chief indicated, there may be an outside investigation, which in this kind of circumstance is the appropriate way to go. I don't know the rules in Charlotte or in North Carolina or what the federal government may require if the feds are the outside third party to investigate. So on the one hand, you need to follow the rules and regulations. On the other hand, obviously the public and the media want as much information as possible.
Mr. Mayor, as you head into Thursday night after 2 nights of violence there, we learned that they have no plans as of now to institute a curfew, although the chief said it's something they may do later on. What goes into a decision like that, and do you think it's something that should be done?
There's too much advice on television, but that is a tough call, and they're going to have much more information on the ground certainly than any of us would have in our conversation. But I think after seeing what's happened the last couple of nights, anticipating now with the state declaration, state of emergency, National Guardsmen, state troopers, I think as I understand, or Highway Patrol, those officers, bringing in that level of additional law enforcement engagement will, unfortunately, possibly inspire some to do even more things. So I think, as the mayor indicated, she said a lot of conversations are taking place right now with many, many community leaders. I'm sure they're going to have more discussion about what they should really do for late this afternoon, early evening, and they may want to revisit a lot of that discussion and decision making, making sure that the public is safe, making sure that the officers are safe, and then, of course, property and property damage, et cetera, are all of the factors in trying to make that a very, very tough call. I think public safety always has to be the number one leading choice in terms of that decision.
Mayor, stand by. Let's go right now to Brian Todd, our correspondent. He was in that press conference there in Charlotte. And Brian, you were there, and as you heard, obviously, even more of the questions than we could hear because there was some, you couldn't hear them off mic. But the mayor and the police chief faced some very tough questions about why not release this video to the public.
Kate, they faced very tough questions about that, and my colleague Nick Valencia and I pressed them on it repeatedly. They are not going to release the video. They don't have plans to release it publicly. They say their policy is not to release the video. At one point, Kate, the chief hinted that he may have a third-party individual look at it and maybe try to disseminate that for the public, but he was non-committal on that. We pressed him on that as well, and then he basically said, don't expect the video to be released. We pressed him, look, just tell us what's on it if you can, and he wouldn't do that. My colleague Nick Valencia said that his team interviewed an official who looked at the video, who said there was a clearly threatening move made by Keith Lamont Scott that afternoon, and that he had an ankle holster. We asked the chief about that. He wouldn't comment about any of that. The headline here, they are being very closed-mouthed this morning about what's on the video, and they do not plan to release it, Kate. The chief also notably saying that he does not plan on using the curfew, but he will leave that open later on. He may have to make that call later. were wondering just how much later he would make it, because it seems like they were late in asking for assistance from other police agencies as well to come in and help quell the violence overnight.
All right, Brian Todd, stand by from that briefing room. I want to bring in Art Roderick, a CNN law enforcement analyst and former assistant director of the U.S. Marshal Service. In Art, we heard from Brian right there, word that sources were telling CNN that Keith Lamont Scott made some kind of threatening move. Well, that's not exactly what the police chief said just there. What he said is he looked at the video, and there was no absolute evidence he saw that Mr. Scott pointed a gun. Is there an important difference between seeing him point a gun and having a gun?
Well, if he had the gun in his hand, and even though he didn't point it, then to me it makes no difference. Unfortunately, we've heard some conflicting views of what is actually on this video. We have one official saying that he made a threatening move initially when we heard the